so it's such a vote of confidence for us as Black women. It's such a vote of confidence for us as providers of color to hear you share that story, because people, like, it's almost like parallel process. What you shared about what happened between you and that therapist is very similar, I think, to what happens to a lot of us in the workplace, right?
Absolutely.
Right? All the time, all the time. And so you're on one path and you're living life and experiencing things. And for you as a Black person, that experience is 100% real and 100% authentic. And you start to share these experiences with people who may be white or may not be Black. They may be of some other racial ethnic group. And sometimes what you get in return is this disbelief. It's just like this whole conversation now around people waking up
Yep.
to the pandemic of racism, and all the brown people like, really? Where
Right.
y'all been? Where y'all been at? Where y'all been? Right? And I think about, like, with police brutality. Girl, we both old enough to remember NWA. Come on. They were saying that. That was literally 30 years ago. Right? So none of this stuff is new. And so I just really appreciate you sharing the process, because, again, I think it's something that will help a lot of people understand you have a right to shop, right? You have a right to trust your instincts. When you're looking at pictures,
I don't think it's right. I think you have a responsibility.
That's it. That's
job.
it.
Because you are interviewing them
That's right.
with the most precious thing you have, which
That's
is
right.
your soul. With the, you know
That's
what I mean?
right. That's right.
Your insides. Your
That's
feet.
right.
You can't just trust that to anybody.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
And it's okay if you, like I did with him, if you even go and start having a relationship that you think is working, the second you don't think it's working anymore, you don't owe that person anything. You owe yourself something.
Ooh.
So then find
yes.
I'm not saying it's easy.
Yes.
It's not, you know what I mean? But you got to do it. You really have to do it.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
That right person makes the difference between healing and not healing. Or just being on the path to healing.
That's right. That's right. Ooh, I just love that. Everything you just said, I'm not even going to try to repeat it because it was fantastic. It was spot on. So the last thing I want to ask about is in this vein, and you're very expressive and you're an awesome communicator. As you said, your profession was storytelling, right? It is storytelling through your foundation and through the work that you did as a producer for television. And one thing I'm aware of that I'm going to make sure we put in the notes for this episode is you had the opportunity to also tell your story on a huge global platform. And I'm wondering if you would,
It's the scariest thing I've ever done.
Was it? So tell everybody what it was, and then just tell us about it. Whatever you'd like to share about the fear and how you got through it, because it's just awesome. So I feel like I know for many reasons a rock star, that being just one of the many reasons you are a rock star. So tell us a little bit about that.
So you must be talking about the TED Talk that I did.
Yes.
I did a TED Talk a few years ago.
Okay.
Called, oops, I just forgot what it's called. Okay. Don't let your depression silence you, I think.
Okay.
You can edit that part out because But I did a TED Talk a few years ago where I talked about my own struggle with depression and anxiety, and I shared the story about losing my nephew. And I got to tell you, as someone who has social anxiety, who is terribly afraid of public speaking, my friends were like, "Are you crazy doing a TED Talk? Like someone not doing public speaking to a TED Talk?" But for me, honestly, it was, I am so passionate about this subject, and it's so incredibly necessary for us as Black and brown people to talk about this and to see. I wanted to be the face of it for other people who looked like me to know that they are not alone. And just because you may be living with a mental disorder, a mental health disorder, does not mean that you are crazy. Does not mean that you will be unproductive. Does not mean that you cannot be successful. Does not mean that you won't find love and get married, right? None of those things. So it was really important for me to try to represent that for other young people. And honestly, if I'm going to be completely transparent, what always motivates me with this work is my nephew. And I always feel like if I could have, I'm going to get emotional, but if
it's okay.
God knows, I wish I could have saved that boy.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if I don't try to save somebody else's child who is still here. Yeah. And if I can help, that is my goal. Ooh, I didn't mean to start crying on this.
It's all right. It's all right.
So yeah. So that is why I did it. Now, having said that, I was terrified. Yeah. And everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. From literally when I got on, right before I was going up on the stage, one of the women in the back said, "Are you wearing that dress?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, you can't wear that dress. It won't look right on camera." I was like, "What?" Right, exactly.
You say this now?
Yeah, right. She was like, "It won't look right on camera." So we had to scramble. And literally, it was like 20 minutes before the most nerve-wracking, stress-inducing thing in my entire life that I had been through, or at least professionally been through. I had to like scramble to try, I had some friends who were there who were like, giving me their clothes. So at the last minute, I like was, switch that. Then I get on the stage, and as soon as I start speaking, now this was at the TED headquarters. As soon as I start speaking, this is in New York. The TED headquarters is in New York. Construction right outside, all through my talk. So we had to stop down, and I had to start again in front of a huge audience of people. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And of all people, and even my friends who were there laughed. They were like, of all the people for this to happen to, it's the girl with the anxiety and tears.
Right. Right.
But I kind of look at that too, like, you know what? That was God testing me. And I got to see how badly I wanted it. And I got through. I made it through. And the talk, I really felt honored because the talk was selected by the curators at TED to actually be on the homepage.
Yes.
So it was on, the TED.
I remember. Because I sure Googled it. Yes, I did. And by the time I saw it, I think it was already at 1 million. I was like, "Oh, I know her. That's my friend."
So yeah, and then incredible about it, like it's already, it's gotten over 2 million views worldwide. It's in all these different languages. It's in sign language. And the thing that has struck me, and I think it's what we talked about earlier. Yeah. I think particularly with social media, right? We spend a lot of time pretending we are who we're not. And I think a lot in our culture teaches us that's what we should do. It says vulnerability is weakness and all that kind of thing. So I think we're putting on all these layers trying to hide who we really are and project the person that we're not. Yep. I think when you strip all of that stuff away and you are honest about your vulnerabilities and your wounds, that's an opportunity to foster real connection. And I'm saying all this because since I did that TED Talk, I cannot tell you, literally, no exaggeration, hundreds of emails from people from around the world, Asia, Africa, all Europe, who have reached out to say thank you and to say, your story sounds like mine, and you've made me see that it's okay to get help. Right. And I'm speaking specifically about the Black community. Right. Yet, when I tell you every shade and hue of person has reached out to say, thank you, I relate to your story. Yeah. So that was special about it. And again, I think that all that drama, I went through it to get to this point where I can help so many people. That's really so important to me, and it's such a huge honor to me.
What a gift. What a blessing you are, Nikki. Girl, you just a gift. And it's just, wow, that's just That's so amazing. And I remember the outfit. You can tell me if I'm wrong. The pants were red or pink and the top was white. Girl, I remember that. Because you look cute. I was like, oh, go girl. Give me that top. So after all that, you look fantastic. I remember that. I was like, I need me some of them pants. I'm like capris. Oh, girl, them look good. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, I am just so grateful to you for sharing so much with us, for being so open. And so, as we wind down, I want to, in addition to thank you, I'll probably thank you 1,000 more times, but in addition to saying thanks, I want to have an opportunity to share this little activity that I do with folks, these affirmators. I love these cards because I'm big on affirmation. So, I'm going to randomly pick a card and then I'm just going to read it, and then I'll ask you to just, if you don't mind, reflect on it. Oh, the right one popped right up. All right. All right. So the card is ego. This is a little picture, and it got a little brain doing yoga, doing meditation, girl. So ego. When my selfish ego rears its ugly, screaming little head, I calmly toss it a Xanax and ask it to leave me alone. I am a big, generous person, and in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter if someone else gets credit for my idea. Because at the end of the day, when you really stop and think about it, the idea might end up being bad, and so then they'll have to take the fall. So there. What do you think about ego?
I think that's a big one. Wow, that's a big one. I think the first thing that I think about in terms of ego, particularly in this work of mental health advocacy, is that sometimes your ego can get in the way of the work, right? It becomes about the accolades or I did a TED talk. You don't want to lose sight of why you do this. You're not doing it for any kind of accolades or praise, or even to hear people say, oh, you're such a good person because you're doing it, right?
Yes.
And that's real. So, and I'll say for myself, sometimes I can get caught up in that. Like sometimes I can even feel like, I like the praise.
Yes.
And it's like, I have to check myself and say, hey, wait a minute now, you're not doing this for any praise. You're doing this for the work. So don't let the praise, get in the way of the work. Cause that's right. That's the most important thing. And I think as people who advocate for mental health, sometimes you will run across a lot of it. I don't want to say a lot of it, but some of it can be very ego driven. I know even when I first started I Live For, to me, I thought the more people you connect with, we can really amplify this. Mm-hmm. So I was of the mindset, I started reaching out to other people who were doing the same work. Right. And not everybody was receptive to partnering. And it felt like it was very much about ego. Like it was like, well, my name is on this and I want to keep my name on this work that I've done. That's not about the work. And that's even how I met you, right? I reached out to you because I had gotten your name from someone else that I had reached out to who we partnered with. Right. And they said, you've got to meet, Dr. Alfie in the Acoma project, right?
Right.
So I immediately called you. And that's why I think we connected so well, because you immediately were open to the idea of us joining forces and becoming a force, right? So that to me, ego, it's something that's easy to kind of slip back into. So I'm not trying to be in judgment of other people for doing that. Cause like I said, I've gotten caught up in it too. Yes. And I think we all do as humans.
Yes.
So what you've got to do is stay cognizant of the fact that can happen and try to pivot and make it about the work and not about whatever praise or accolades or compliments that you get for doing it.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So well said. Well, Nikki Webber Allen, I want to, for the 100th time, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for being so open, for agreeing to do this, for hanging in there, giving up, an hour of your time on a Friday afternoon to just talk with me. And, I do want to say, out of a lot of people I've met, you are the last one on the list when it comes to ego getting in the way. So you should know that. That's never been my experience. You are just a sweet person, just a kind person, just very open. And there are not many people. I'm not, my girlfriend, my real close girlfriends know this. I'm not the easiest person to become friends with.
Really?
Oh girl, no. I put people through the paces. And so you are one, I'm so serious. So you are one who I never felt that, right? Like, honestly, I can say to you in all honesty, going to meet for coffee, I don't do that with people.
Well, who
Hell
knew?
no, I did not. But you, it was like, yeah, let's go, right? And then we went and ran by the Kate Spade store. I don't do that with people. So it just was like natural, seriously. And so you're just, I think that's a testament to, like you said, sometimes you meet people or you see a picture and you just like, I like that person, right? I could relate to that person. We like click. And when you reached out, I was still at Georgetown and I remember I was like, oh, she good. She's good people. So whatever I can do, still, whatever I can do, even though we're miles away, miles apart, I'm always happy to be supportive of you and your work because I live for it really is about life. It really is about uplifting people. It really is about reaching and connecting and supporting other people. And I follow you through the experiences that you all have. I remember the one in New York where I wasn't able to come. So I follow and I pay attention. And so I'm just really grateful to you for all your work. I'm grateful to you for your vulnerability. And I'm grateful to you, I have to say this, for the ways in which you selflessly stand up and support other Black women, right? That sisterhood thing is real and you take it very seriously. And so I really love that as we get to the end of the season, you are really my last episode of the season. I have a summary episode, but you're it. And this is a wonderful way to close it out because it's all about not what can I do for me, but what can I do to serve other people and how can I support other people? So, with all of that said, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alfie. Love you.
I love you too, girl. As we close out, I have to extend thanks to my family for being my crew for this season. They always help set up. Matter of fact, there's a part of our house that we basically have turned into a functioning television studio for the better part of probably 6 or 7 months. So I'm grateful to them for being really kind and being super supportive. Nobody ever complained. They always just dove in and helped. So I'm really grateful to them, my spouse and my 2 kids. I'm also grateful to my dad and my brother for always being encouraging and watching the shows. In closing, what I want to say to you is that I'm super grateful to have had this opportunity to bring you season 1, and I'm looking forward to season 2. So we're going to take a break for a couple months, but then we'll be right back with more episodes. We're going to have more young people next season and continued opportunity to have these really powerful conversations with people of diverse backgrounds who all have a passion for the same thing: mental health advocacy, talking about mental illness, talking about their own journeys, and really creating a space to uplift the voices of people who've been marginalized and disenfranchised within the conversation of mental health. So as we close out, I'm going to ask you to please again subscribe to our YouTube channel for the visual part of our podcast, to our Libsyn page and our Apple Podcast and any place you get your podcast fix for the audio part of our podcast. And of course, you know what I'm going to say. Oh, and one more thing. I have to thank the person from Ron Funches' fan base who was the one who encouraged me to go ahead and start my own podcast when I was on Ron's show a year ago. So thank you to the Getting Better podcast crew, to Halston and to Ron, because they helped me get set up here. So I'm really grateful to you all. So in closing, of course, you know I'm going to say what I always say. You probably can say it with me at this point, that I am wishing you what? Lots of love, lots of light, and hoping that it is always, always informed at the end of this season 1 and going forward. Good, culturally relevant science. Take care.